Hey guys, it's Tony Gattari here from Achievers Group with another passionate yet practical business video vitamin. Hey guys, I just wanted to share with you some ideas on how habits are formed. Clearly, if you are in building teams, if you are a leader, if you need to motivate and manage people, if you've got teams, and not only that, if you're actually also in the business of communication, which is sales and marketing, I think it's really important to understand how habits are formed. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to share you the 4 quadrants of the stages of learning of how habits are formed. And to understand, the really important thing is to understand not only where you are at, but where others are at and the journey that they have to go through. Because there's an old saying, the curse of knowledge kills many. The curse of knowledge is that you know so much about your particular area that you expect everyone else to know what you know. And if you're a leader or a manager, that frustration sometimes explodes where you do the work of your team because you say, I'll just do it myself. And it's a bit like going to the gym and you know, expecting to build the muscle, and the fitness instructor says, look, I'll do the push-ups, hoping you actually get the result, which is insane. So let's talk about how habits are formed. The first stage of any habit that is formed is what I call the ignorant stage. We call this unconscious incompetence. I don't know that I don't know. Now, I'll give you the classic example. Myself, Gattari. I'm 2 years old. I'm sitting in the back of the car. My dad is driving the car. At that stage, I don't know that I'm going to drive that car. I don't know that I don't know. I am in complete ignorance. And we all start there in something. We are totally unaware of the next area until that is exposed to us. Now, what is the next area? What is the next phase of habits and how habits are formed? The next stage is the awareness stage, the light bulb moment, the light, the revelation, the understanding. Now, this is called conscious incompetence. Okay? Now, what I now know is I now know that I don't know. Now, I'll give you the classic example. Is I am 4 years old and my father then tells me that one day I'm going to drive a car. Now, the point of that is that I now know that I don't know, right? I have been alerted and I am completely aware. That's why we call the awareness stage, that I now know that I don't know. Now, a really big point here, guys. At the awareness stage, there is a likelihood that there will be 2 responses by the individual, including yourself. There are 2 responses that I can make. The first response is the response of a victor. And a victor's response is, once the awareness stage has been illuminated, then I actually take ownership, I take accountability, and I take responsibility. That drives me to the next stage. But if I take the victim philosophy is in denial, blaming, and excuses. And what happens is that I stay in that awareness stage, or I try to regress back to the ignorant stage. And we see this in many individuals who use reasons why things won't work. Because what they've done is at that awareness stage, they have tried to go back to that ignorant stage. And clearly that is not possible. What they'll then do is they'll find excuses or denial or blame why it can't work. So the next stage of the habits that we form is what I call the desire stage. Now, see, the key word there is desire. The desire to change is evident. That's why a person has to take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Now, we call this stage conscious competence. And essentially, I am working at it. Now, I can remember this myself personally. When I was driving the first car that I ever drove, which was my dad's Mazda 1200, it was a manual 4-cylinder 1200cc car. And I remember actually getting in that car. And I don't know if you can remember the first time you ever drove a car as an L driver. If you see L drivers now, they are so intensely focused on driving the car. It's almost like, wow, why is it so hard? But I remember at that stage, the challenge of putting the clutch, the gears, the brake and the steering wheel and coordinating those in sync was actually a really big challenge. I said, how can you do this? You almost have to be an octopus. And there was such an intensity in terms of my focus. And that's what is called, I am working on it. And we all know that when you're working on something, the best way to master that is just continue to do more of it. It's almost repetition is the mother of skill. And we all know that if you are in a leadership capacity, one of the greatest principles that I can give you in really exploding your team's potential is almost allowing them to fail, to learn from that failure, and for them to continue doing that. It's activity-based training is incredibly important. Just get back up and do it again. What did we learn from that? What can we do better? Now, here is the key. The key is they have to do it. The key is if you do it for them and they look on, they create a dependent relationship on you continuing to do that. So one of the keys of management is to really extract yourself from being a boss to being a coach, where you're getting them to strengthen their own muscle by doing it. And the last level of actual of how habits are formed is what we call the conditioning stage. Now that is the stage where we call it unconscious competence. I can do it in my sleep. Now I'll give you the classic example of the car. Every single one of us now who drives a car, we don't think about how we're going to drive that car. Many of us, even if we're half drunk, which we shouldn't be, even if we're stoned out of our mind, which we shouldn't be, but even if we're actually even tired, have this enormous ability to actually still drive a car. Not only that, we drive a car while we're putting our makeup on, we're on the iPhone, we're on the iPad, we're eating food, the whole lot. That is because in many ways we have reached a stage of habits because we've driven so often where we can do it in our sleep. We've mastered that particular art. Now the key, it's incredible, isn't it, is that if you want to continue to be a master, you've got to continue to develop that skill. And we call that conditioning. That is exactly the reason why Tiger Woods, who is arguably the best golfer in the entire world, still has a coach. Not because he's at that level of desire, but now he's at a level of total conditioning where he's continuing to strengthen his strengths. So guys, I just wanted to share that journey of the 4 levels, and remember what they are, right? The first level is the level of ignorance. The second level is the level of awareness. The third level is the level of desire, and the fourth level is the level of conditioning. And the most important thing for us to realize as great leaders, as great people, is to understand where our team are on that journey, and to really reflect backwards how long it took us to master something. So how can we expect them to pick it up in one particular day? And the important principle of them doing it, them failing, then continuing to do it until they've mastered it cannot be underestimated. So guys, until next time, God bless you. Have the most amazing week. Bye.